What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens episode review. Today, guys, we are going to be going over episode 22. And, guys, I will say this episode, you know what? That's not. I just jumping right into it. So, without further ado, guys, let's get into it. Gosh, I just gotta try to keep doing my intro just normally the same. I need to stop trying to do one different every single time. But anyway, what did I think of this episode? I will say though, out of all the episodes of this arc that we've gotten so far, this episode is probably my least favorite out of them all, or second least favorite, I should say. I think the Schrodinger one still kind of beats it, just because I didn't really care for Schrodinger. This episode was okay, but I will say though, the only thing, and this is basically what this review might be about, that was interesting from this episode was Rook's watch. So yeah, let's get right into it. So basically, the whole start of this episode, Rook uses the tickets or the or coupons or whatever you want to call them. He used them to get into the AI restaurant. Remember, Mimi in episode 20 gave them VIP tickets to actually go to the ramen shop, the AI ramen shop, to go for VIP. And I will just say this though, I have eaten chicken for a good amount of my life. I would say since I was little. I mean, I love chicken. Chicken is one of my favorite foods out there besides, a good old steak. I mean, come on. I'm a dude. I love steak. But and I'm going to tell you, this episode, I will say, this episode was so unappealing to me with the dueling that I'm talking about chicken and watches. Yeah, this is where the show has gone for me. But luckily, I still am really enjoying the show. But anyway, so he's this big old chickenling, and before that, actually, he was something was going on with his power. We all know about the whole Rook Devil and stuff like that. But before they even got into the area, he ended up shocking the AI restaurant attendee, like the employer, and ended up knocking him out, and also was able to shut the VIP door. Like, his whole watch was going insane that entire time. In fact, before Arya Rada stepped in, he actually did that to the doors again, and Yuga wanted to go and look at his watch because he was noticing like a static on it. And then this is where everything just goes downhill as Arya Rada tries to go. Oh no, it was the AI robot. Never mind. He did it twice to the AI robot, but Arya tried to capture Roman because of what happened. If we remember in episode 16, Roman beat Arya Rada, and that's where the whole, really the start of Neil's story kind of took place. And he went to go and try to capture her, but ended up taking Rook, and now this is where the whole fence just go downhill as Rook gets captured, and man, I am concerned for what Rook has been watching as a childhood. I mean, this is supposed to be a seventh grader, and he's talking about getting tortured because of him getting trapped in a cage. Which, I mean, I'm just gonna say I love Rook, but he tries to activate its devil powers, can't use them. But Arya decides to let him out anyways, and decides to teach him a punishment, even though when he first got in there, he ended up, or no, the AI robot ended up wiping his face before he gets shut down into the cage. But after that, Arya 1 makes him pay for the whole reason that he wasn't able to cheat against Roman, and they start a rush duel. Which, I will say this though, this was probably my least favorite duel of the series. I do not like cheaters in Yu-Gi-Oh! I think they make them, or at least with them dueling, really bland because it doesn't. You can't show a strength to a character if they're cheating. For example, Bandit Keith. Don't like Bandit Keith for his cheating. Weevil. Never liked Weevil. Well, that's also for other reasons, but I just don't like cheaters. I loved Lightning. Lightning was probably a top 3 character for me. Dropped down to a top 10 because he technically cheated in that duel, which I kind of let that one slide just because it didn't really matter in the end. But I just don't like the cheating because it. How am I gonna like a character that cheats? I've just always been that way. I've just never liked them because it. I feel like it hurts the character in my eyes because they show that they can't do anything unless they cheat. Like Wendy, I liked Windy. I just wish he wouldn't use Storm Access during a Master Duel. I didn't really like that. Or even Bowman. Bowman used Storm Access his second and fourth time duel, and I mean that last duel, even though I love that duel, it might be a top 10, but I didn't like the fact that he kept using Master Storm Axes during that duel. I just don't like those kind of gimmicks. Well, it's a gimmick, which I let Master Storm Access go because it's just adding a card to the extra deck, but that's like you say you had 15 cards in your extra deck. That's adding basically 20 to it, which is unfair. But I'm getting off topic. But anyway, he starts the duel and immediately he's on a cheating spree after Rook takes his turn. In fact, he doesn't even summon his ace monster because he was worried about the general that he summoned against Roman, which he does not. He uses a variant of his cleaning generals, but he summoned the one that was basically a tank, which I didn't mind the design of it. We also saw Santa Claus. You didn't hear me wrong. We saw Santa Claus. I will say, though, that was probably the most interesting, other than the fact that Rook summoned his three dragons, Shockley Dragon, Bunker Striker. He summoned that monster, and he summoned his Dragears. But Arya takes his turn, and he has a different dueling. Well, I'm going to assume this was the same dueling style from before, but immediately starts a turn and he immediately goes for cheating. In fact, he's way worse than last time because he doesn't just he did the whole set the card thing, use the buttons on his dual disc to trade in the spell card to activate him. No, he did that before, so it added whatever card he wanted to his deck into his hand, like basically when he would go for the draw. Which, and he just did it. I know Rook is an idiot and didn't really notice it, but in fact, he felt sentimental. He kind of blamed himself for it, even though he kind of started at it. So, well, he blames himself because he feels like he's the reason he's going down this bad path, which, I mean, he was already on this path anyway, so there's nothing you can really do. But anyway, he goes into his turn. He summons the Santa Claus monsters. In fact, his entire plan was to get him to deck out basically on his first turn because he kept activating Santa Claus's effect and another spell card so that Rook could keep drawing cards. In fact, there was a point where he was like drawing like 7 different cards. I think the first time with his Santa Claus monster was using it to gain life points, and then the spell cards he was activating. Oh no, it was the general. The general is what he was using. He was using that to discard his hand. That way he would draw more from the ones he drew from the Santa Claus monster. Sorry, Santa Claus monster. And he was honestly actually about to do it again because if you remember, he was about to activate it, but Yugioh, Gakuto, and Roman were able to get out of the Ramen VIP area because they actually ended up getting stuck in there because the watch actually shut down the building completely, it looked like, because you saw like the outside getting shocked as well. I think it turned off everything. He had to actually shove the like rod part of the the bicycle Kaizo to actually pry the door open. And I will say this though, the thing that's kind of saved it was the comedy in this, I will say, though, because when those 3 got over there, they said, you know what, we are going to go and stop him from cheating. And each of them put on the watch and shout out, like, Yuga Devil, Ramen Devil, Gakuto Devil, and none of it worked, which I will say, though, that was the most interesting about this episode, is that this watch, obviously the watch has to be what's going on, because if you notice, Rook never activates his power, but like what they showed in the flashback, every time Rook would put on his dual disc, he will take off the watch, put it in his pocket, and put it on his dual disc. It's on the same armor what his watch would be. So it has to be something to want to watch, and we saw the static coming from the watch. But it looks like Rook is still the only one that can activate it. Remember, like I said before, Yugioh tried to activate it, Roman tried to activate it, and Gakuto tried to activate it. And none of them could do it. So, I have no idea what causes it, and I think that really made it interesting, and it made this Rook Devil power more intriguing because of the fact that it only will do it for Rook. My guess is it might have something to do with maybe his family, because remember, this is something his grandpa gave him, so maybe he only Rook could use it. Maybe it's like from a blood or something like. I have no idea. I really would not know how that would work, But let me know you guys' theories on the whole launch. I think that would be a very interesting topic because it's surprising. I think this is the first time I actually asked for a theory about something in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens that I have not even tried to make it. Honestly, I just think it's something to do with his family, but I would like to know what you guys think of that. But anyway, Rook doesn't even decide to do it because he activates a trap to basically place his monster in defense position so he can activate that tank monster's effect, and then goes on Rook's turn. And I will say though, Rook is a strong character, I will say that, but he's like Kaiba strong in the point where he's too focused on power. I feel like Rook's first loss in this series is going to be to someone that really is calculated and uses his back row pretty well, because all he focuses on is power and OTK, as basically that's what is shown in this episode. Like, he can deal with the monsters. I mean, he sent all the, well, no, what was, I can't remember what the cost was, but I remember the one spell card, Draconic Pressure, destroyed all the monsters on his field, but because he had like I think he had 13 cards in his hand, had 9 cards in his deck. If that general's a fact when it gone off, he wouldn't actually been able to hit the requirement and automatically would have lost. They did kind of have a tutorial in this as well, because I don't think but they did have that in episode 13. No, technically no, they didn't, because they were only searching for Seven's Road Magician. They weren't actually going for a deck out. Never mind. But this was the first time we were truly seeing a deck out about to happen, and that's not the case when it happened. Also, they talked about, like, even if you have 5 cards in your hand, you still draw 1 additional card, which I feel like people had already knew that, but I guess it's true that we haven't seen that actually. So they were able to throw in a tutorial in there for you guys, so that's interesting. It's episode 22 of the series, and we still kind of have tutorials. Not big tutorials, but it's still good to have in case people were confused on that whole situation. But Rook goes into his turn. He is able to get out his Shock Lead Dragon. In fact, he's able to boost its attack points up. Then goes into more plays to get out his Thrust Dragon Bunker Strike, I believe is what it's called. I never can remember these card names. It took me a while to get used to Reigns' cards. Heck, even Arc 5, honestly, any of the series. But anyway, he summons Bunker Strike, is able to play off a couple of plays to actually get Dragears out after using it. I think it was like, I think his name was Justice Dragon was the monster where you can count it as 1 tribute by sending a card from your hand to the graveyard. He gets Dragears out onto the field after getting it from his hand, and basically goes in for a big old direct attack. And if you remember earlier in the duel as well, Arya Rada had gained light points due to the Santa Claus effects. I'm so used to calling it Santa Claus, dude. I mean, it's a blue Santa Claus, but whatever. And is able to deal, I can't remember the attack point. I think Shock Lead ended up getting to 2,000 during that duel. So it was 2,043, 60, it was 68 points of damage. Yeah, 68. It was 6,800 points of damage, which was perfect with Arya's light points. Was able to get him to 0 in just 1 shot, and basically beats Arya Rada. Not a surprise, I will say though. This was an easy to predict duel. I don't think anyone. I would be very surprised if Arya had won this duel, but he had no chance. Come on. But anyway, so basically what happens after that is Yuga goes up to Arya and basically asks to get into the Garden of Providence again, to get into heaven basically, because that's where their next goal is. And after some kind of smart maneuvers, they were able to get him to spill the beans, and then Rook, for one last time in this episode, uses Rook Devil and is able to open the door. And that's where the whole thing is interesting, because his power came back after the duel as well, and they're really wondering how his power works now. They were even getting convinced that this is Rook's devil power. Gakuto even said, "Is this Rook's devil power?" And he kind of like conflicted with himself. And then they went straight for the duel. They went straight through the door. Arya got what he deserved. None of the other characters have gotten it. I mean, Soraka went back into space. Mimi was still part of their team, so she didn't count. But and Sebastian went back with Neil. The only times we ever seen people fall through the hole was Geta and Schrodinger, and Arya got what he deserved, and he fell through the hole as well as the gang head straight to heaven to go and face Neil himself, and that was the end of the episode. Not really much to talk about. Again, the only thing that was the most interesting, honestly, out of this was the watch, just because of the whole function. That kind of saved the episode for me, because other than that, and maybe some humor in it, I kind of thought the episode almost got boring. I remember when I watched this on sub, which that happens because you don't know what's going on, but when I watched it unsubbed, it kind of got boring for me because there was nothing appealing. This Arya character is probably my least favorite Yugioh Sevens character that were introduced, other than Schrodinger. And honestly, I would not mind if we never saw this character again. I really did not care for this character at all. So we'll see what happens. They've been bringing back characters, and yeah, we're just gonna have to wait until episode 23. Which I will say though, that I looked ahead. I watched the preview this time. I never have watched the preview after it. After I watched it unsubbed, I waited until I do the episode reviews. But I did it this time. This whole week has been weird. I mean, I'm recording this on Wednesday. I wanted to record this Sunday, but didn't end up happening. Which I will say this though. I'm gonna say this right now. Massive shoutouts to Antime Subs, who subs these episodes, because without her work, there is no way, unless other people fan dub this, because there is no official sites doing this, we would not be able to watch Yugioh Sevens. And I can't extend my gratitude. I really could not. In fact, I think she has a GoFundMe, like at the end of to go and donate to her. If you guys want to put in some effort, or not effort, if you guys want to go and support her for all the work she does, go to that link and please go support her. She really deserves it. Without her, there's no way we can watch Yugioh Sevens. I mean, she's done a lot for this community, and I could not thank her enough. I doubt she watches these videos, but hey, you know what? That's okay. I mean, she lives on in my spirit, no matter what happens. So I guess that's the last thing I just wanted to bring. I just wanted to mention that I realized I have never, unless I mentioned it once and I don't remember it, I have not mentioned that once, and I feel like I really needed to do that. So yeah, that's going to be it, guys, for this episode. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what your guys' thoughts on this episode. Did you think it was a good episode, okay, or was this episode bad or boring? Kind of in the same category. And let me know, guys, what you guys think of Arya. I haven't really talked to many people in the community about Arya Rada. You already know my thoughts on him. Don't really care about him, but I would love to know what you guys think of the character. Do you actually like him? Do you not? Do you like cheaters in Yu-Gi-Oh? I mean, I personally don't, but maybe some people like it. Maybe it gives more flavor than maybe I take credit for. Maybe I don't see something. Who really knows? But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.